Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this, the Metal Robot Damashi, or Metal Robot Spirits, Rising Freedom Gundam, and of course this is from the brand new Gundam Seed movie, Gundam Seed Freedom. This video right here would not have been possible without those awesome people over at Buy, so if you're looking for one of these of your own, that's where I got mine, and I'll throw a link down there in the description. Let's get right into it. And finally, here is the Metal Robot Damashi, or the Metal Robot Spirits, Rising Freedom Gundam out of the box. So far, I'm impressed. It feels rock solid. There is a little bit of wing assembly we need to get into straight away, so let's lash on those wings. Alright, so the wings, they have a certain direction. Basically, this one right here with the decal, that is the wing we're going to be popping on this side. So let's do that first again. This is a Metal Robot Damashi, so it does mean we've got some die-cast parts, keeping this rock solid, and it does feel extremely robust. So far, a lot of center of balance. It's got a good center of balance so far, so I think it won't have any issues standing up with these wings attached on, even though those toes feel like they could be a little bit stronger. But anyway, that's what we've got, and first things first, how does it compare to the high grade? Well, the first impression is the color is a little bit more impactful in some areas, but mainly the size. So there it is side by side with the high grade Rising Freedom, and this is a whole deal taller. I mean, you've got a whole head above the actual high grade Rising Freedom right here. It's also interesting to see stuff like the wings, not just the fact that we've got the actual white stripe on them, but the fact that you're actually able to collapse the wings in a little bit further than you can on the high grade, which, you know, is easier for getting it to fit places. But yeah, overall, quite a bit different, but quite a bit the same at the same time. And anyway, just in case you are curious, there it is side by side with a standard size high grade Gundam. So as you can see, it is not the same scale as Gunpla, but it would kind of fit in a bit, especially if they were all up in the air. But otherwise, it is larger than Gunpla. So jumping on into that full 360 spin, and this is one premium looking figure. We've got multiple shades of every color, but overall it seems like everything's been given a bit of a kind of shiny finish. We've got some pearlescent finishes on some parts, mainly a gloss finish. We have metallic in a lot of these silvered parts. The decals have a silver finish as well, the silvered ones of course, the red ones are red. And overall, there is almost too much to even mention about this, so it is, as usual, up to yourself to make what you want out of it. But man, does it catch the light nicely. It's got a lot going on, and I suppose the only thing to do right now is compare this side by side with the high grade, because it is, the same Gundam, and we might as well see how they compare. So when it comes to the overall look, they both look ridiculously fantastic. Now, I'm going to have them somewhat to scale on screen here as much as I can do. I also can't see what you're seeing right now, because I will be putting it together a little bit in post. But this one right here, the one that you'll be seeing on the right, the Metal Robot Damashi, almost has a little bit of a more slender aspect to its legs, and overall kind of long, elegant feel about it. Then the fact that the wings can close in all the way does mean it just overall looks a little bit tighter and neater, but both of them, high grade included, look fantastic. So now zooming into the faces a little bit, again the high grade's on the left, the Robot Damashi is on the right, and as far as I can see, once again, both are looking really good. It is paint on the eyes on the Robot Damashi on the right, so it doesn't pop quite as much as what we see with the high grade. Overall though, again, I can't really see what's going on, but it looks like we've got a little bit more of a slender, longer kind of look on the Robot Damashi, and a more circular, cuter almost, and a little bit of a sharper, detailed look on the high grade. So yeah, if you're looking for something that definitely has a lot more detail out of the box, the Robot Damashi is the way to go, with a lot of fine little decals all over the place, especially these cool metallic ones that, well, they're almost invisible until they catch that light, and they do look pretty cool. Of course, all that sort of stuff you can do with Gunpla if you have the time and you want to put in that extra effort. We also have stuff like this right here, which is the venting, which is, as far as I know, not necessarily this color. It could be this color in the movie, but this has that, whereas the high grade does not. And of course, probably the biggest difference is, with the high grade, we did require stickers to add the white onto the wings, which is present on this particular version here, but whether or not you prefer that or not, this has that old school Freedom kind of feel, whereas this is very busy. So when it comes to the accessories in here, we've got the usual loadout of sword, board, and beam rifle, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Breaking it down, the sword is a pair of beam sabers, we've got a shield, we've got the beam rifle, we've got a whole host of little adapters for using with the Gundam and the stand included, a pair of beam shields, one of the coolest things when it comes to robot Damashi figures, and that of course is a spare V-fin if you break or lose the one on it, some extra beam effects, as well as 6 hands, not including the 2 fists already attached, for a total of 8. That is 4 pairs. Finally then, we do have a full stand in here as well, so you can have that up in the air. So first up in here, we've got the stand. This is all the usual movement parts, so I can move up and down here. This little part kind of holds it in position, can flip around to a longer bit to change the angle, do all that sort of stuff. Extension, shortening, locking mechanism, and change the angle up here. As we're getting the Rising Freedom attached onto, you just pop this adapter onto the stand the usual sort of way, and then that plugs up into the waist unit of the Freedom Gundam, and this goes in a lot easier than I thought. It doesn't really clip per se, but it does fit snugly. So far it fits on nicely and it's not hard to do, and then getting into a pose on that was simple enough. Just a normal enough pose, but it all worked out easier than I thought it would. So when it does come to the hands and the Rising Freedom ride here, we do have 8 in total. What we've had on the whole time so far is a pair of fists. So these are painted, but they are painted in a kind of nice reflective gunmetal. I think overall Bandai is trying to match what are meant to be the frame parts of the Gundam, the inner sections, not the armor, with the die-cast metal they used on the joints. So that does work out pretty well, and the fist looks pretty nice. So first off, we're going to take a quick look at the other alternate hands we have in here, which are not for using more weapons. So we have the fists, and next up we have these widespread dynamic hands. Swapping them out is super simple. It's just ball joints, they're not tied out of the box, and this is one dynamic and awesome widespread hand. We do have a left and a right of this, just one for the sake of example, and I am impressed by that pose. That just looks awesome. So now moving into the weapons, and first off in here we have the beam sabers. So these are very nicely painted. We've got a bit of a white fade right there into the clear pink at the end. The handles in here, these are nice and color accurate, so they do have that actual little stripe on the handle. As for the hands that we use them with, we've got a pair of holding hands in here. Attaching them on is the exact same way as the other hands. Attach on easy. So again, this attaching to the hand is super simple. It just squeezes on in through the fingers like so. The grip is pretty good. When these are not in use, you can just pop out the beam just like so and attach them onto the side skirting like this. These hold on really well. At first I thought it'd be the little peg hole, tiny shallow peg hole in their surface that would hold them in, but that just kind of aligns them. The actual grip of the section holds them in, and it holds in good. Overall, getting this into a pose is good, not fantastic. You would expect something that's meant to be a metal robot Damashi wouldn't fall apart as much, but I lost both side skirts and both front skirts while trying to actually get this into a pose, and overall in the end it does turn out quite well, but I'm actually shocked by how easy to knock off the skirting armors are. However, looking intense and awesome. So next up in here is the beam saber, and this is incredibly nicely detailed. At the same time, same colors that we would have seen on the mobile suit itself, shiny section there for the sight, and overall looking incredible. And just for the sake of comparison, here is the one from the high grade kit, which was quite plain and missing a lot of colors. Still looking fantastic again, but just not quite as colorful. If you want something completely color accurate out of box, you're going to have to really splash out for this kit right here, for this figure right here. Getting the beam rifle is the usual kind of where you kind of squish the handle in between all the fingers and the trigger finger. It worked out better than these figures usually do, and it holds on really nicely. Popping it into the wrist was a little stiffer than the rest of the joints and things fell apart a bit, but overall in the end, once I got it in and posed, this worked out so nice and looks kick-ass in a pose, and those extra colors on that rifle do make it look incredibly detailed. So far so good. Next up in here is the shield, and this is absolutely gorgeous, especially that kind of matte red paint. It's not fully matte, but it's like matter than the rest, and it kind of absorbs the light in a nice way, where everything else looks incredibly shiny. This has so much going on around back. That includes this sliding handle right here, which moves out like so. We've got this sliding point as well. This, I assume, opens up. Yes, it does, to attach the rifle in when it is transformed. And we should have 2 flip out segments here, which we do. These bits down here are for the transformation, so we'll hold onto those till later. We have 3 beam effects in here for attaching onto this to make it into the boomerang shield. So that one just pops into the end like so. Simple. Little bit of a dirty knob at the end there. These side ones are incredibly small and delicate. That's what they look like attached. Almost, well, you can almost not see them. And then this is what that shield would look like flitting around in the air, ready to tear some stuff up. Now, we do not have any kind of standard attachment point on the bottom for using with a stand, so we're just going to move along and get this attached on normally. So getting this attached onto the actual unit, you require this little bit of an adapter that pops in via a ball joint. That then pops onto the back of the arm just like so and holds on pretty well. You can also pop it into a holding hand as well if you want that double hold. But I just went with the quick version right here and I put it in the widespread open hand, but it still holds on absolutely rock solid and looks phenomenal. The last three accessories we have in here is the energy shields. These are very cool. To attach these on, you just pop off this little red section on the forearm, attach on this little adapter, which is really nice. It's like a big extended bit of machinery, like some pistons that really pushed out this unit. Then, in order to get the shield on, you just pop that onto the top, and that is what it looks like. We do have two of these included, so you can have both arms going at once, and this is what it looks like. A little bit close up and a little bit of a pose, and these are very, very nice to look at. So finally now moving on to the articulation and talking a little bit about the overall build. This is rock solid for the most part, but I do find the skirtings can pop off quite often, especially the side skirtings. It doesn't take much at all, and when you're trying to get it into a bit of a pose, that can be a little bit nightmarish. Besides that though, it is rock solid, it has a very nice center of balance, so even when it's not on the stand, it can stand up perfectly fine. So overall quite good, but again, side skirtings can be a little bit iffy. When it comes to gimmicks, we have the onboard weapons as we usually do, with those massive cannons up in the wings which can flip up and over the shoulders just like so, and the rail guns on the hips on those side skirtings which also flip up just like that. So that is 4 massive cannons on this beast in that usual kind of freedom kind of way. So when it comes to the usual pose, this does pose extremely well. There's a little bit of the issue with some die-cast joints are stiff, some plastic joints are not, but overall it is a good posing experience, besides the fact that the side skirtings shoot off all of the time. You're almost better off taking them off, getting into a pose, and then reattaching them afterwards. But otherwise you can get down nice and low in a lunge, could have a little bit more pivot in the side-to-side motion at the feet, but overall this is incredible with great joints and poses up a storm, which meshes so well with the overall premium look of the kit. On the whole, absolutely awesome. So now moving on to the transformation to flight form. In order to do this, you need to pull up the back section that has that head canopy cover like so. Bring that over while opening the head section. Align the head the right way so you can pop it over the head and then close this panel. And finally then it locks down into place over the head. Next up around back, we need to add this little bit of an adapter section. I'm not sure if this just holds it in place, but it also is used for affixing the shield onto the front. So that just pops in underneath in the small of the back area. Next up, we need to take 2 adapters from the box, attach those together, and those poke on into the crotch grab area just like so we can have this horizontal while attached onto the action base. Next up, align the feet, pop up the 2 fins in the calves of the Gundam. Grabbing that shield now, we do have these 2 parts that fold out very nicely on either side, which hug the chest when attached. We remove the wrist adapter from the back of the shield, and now we add on this brand new adapter, which is for attaching around the waist. Next up, you open up these 2 sections, these red sections on the business side of the shield, attach the rifle in like so, and then you have to realign the bottom part of the shield to get a little bit of a crotch adapter as well. So that does mean that this is a kind of 3-pronged attachment, a little bit overkill maybe, considering the high grade didn't need too much to attach it on. Anyway, you make sure it attaches onto the waist, chest, and into the crotch zone. Finally then, there's a couple of things to do, like aligning the wings, popping out the 2 fins on the nose of the flight form, and then you just attach it onto the base just like so. But I will mention again, these side skirts are so bad, they pop off just looking at them. If you fart in their proximity, they will fall off. They're just ready to go at a moment's notice. But anyway, that right there is what the flight form looks like, and it definitely does look really, really nice. All the little minor details, those nice decals, the paintwork, the overall angles on this, it does look very, very nice. So this works both very nicely in robot mode and in the flight form too, and that's pretty much all that this can do. So that right there is it for the review. Aesthetically, this is a very beautiful Gundam without a single doubt, and in some ways a little nicer looking than the high grade, but for the price difference, you have to wonder if it's worth it for you. When it comes to the accessories in here, this has every base covered and everything in here is incredible. We've got great quality on all of the weapons, from the beam sabers, the rifle to the shield, everything. When it comes to the articulation on this, it is incredible. For a robot Tamashii, you can pull off some ridiculous poses, but those side skirts are a bit of a thorn in your side. Lastly, then, when it comes to the transformation, it transforms perfectly, and it's not too difficult to do once you get used to it. The shield attachment is a little bit overkill, but on the whole, it works out and works out well. As usual, if you do want one of your own, link is down there in the description. I got mine through Bai. Make sure to come back for more Gundam reviews, and I will see you next time. As always, this video right here would not have been possible without each and every single one of you guys, so thank you so much for watching, and as usual, special thanks to those of you who helped me out over on the channel memberships right here and on Patreon, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Dashiell Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Org59061, 10 Soldier YT, and Van Fawn.